Welcome to this week's episode of Accredited Investor Markets Radio. Each week, we speak with you about investing in alternative assets. Unbiased and beholden to no one, Accredited Investor Markets Radio does not accept advertising from any investment firm or financial advisor. Accredited Investor Markets Radio is the spoken word sister of AccreditedInvestorMarkets.com, the internet's most comprehensive and unbiased educational resource about crowdfunding, angel investing, venture capital, private equity, private shares, and other investment classes beyond publicly traded stocks and bonds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Accredited Investor Markets Radio. I am your host, Christopher Cahill. Later on, we'll talk with Ilya Zlobin of Trusted Coins. For those who love money, the feel of it, its clinking, clanking sound, Ilya Zlobin is your man, and we're going to have some fun a little later. A recent guest on this program was John Lee Dumas, who is himself the host of a podcast, a wildly successful Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. He looks at entrepreneurship and how it succeeds by having successful entrepreneurs on the program. So today I thought we'd look at some successes. Now, Mr. Dumas insisted that an important quality an investor should try to discern in an entrepreneur as the investor is making an early stage investment is the entrepreneur's passion. And this is a passion for solving a problem for people, a passion for bringing something to people, something they want, something they enjoy that will increase their happiness. And this passion is to be distinguished from an entrepreneur who is following trends, trying to become the next Airbnb, or the vainglory of becoming rich and successful. The goal, the passion, should be to help people. And so we turn to Inc. magazine, May 2014, an article entitled Selling Vintage Wine to Fans of Vintage Music. The hero of this story is Michael Dorf. Michael Dorf once owned the knitting factory. And he was in his 20s when he did. The knitting factory was not an apparel manufacturer. It was a small New York club, ultra hip, maybe too hip. It featured musical performances by avant-garde jazz musicians and rockers in Manhattan to the cognoscenti. It's hard to have gotten more hip than the knitting factory. But Michael Dorf lost that company in 2002. And here we may introduce another theme explored in the interview with John Lee Dumas, and that is the theme that entrepreneurs who lose, entrepreneurs who fail, learn. And often in that situation, the investor in the early stage entrepreneur who's around for the second time may benefit. In 2008, and then 45 years old, Michael Dorf created the City Winery, also in New York City. City Winery is both a music venue and a custom winery. It combines wine and tunes. These are things treasured by Mr. Dorf's demographic. A person of a certain age can take his or her spouse or partner or mistress or friend for a special night out. Quoting Mr. Dorf in the article, he's serving an aging demographic of wine lovers who also love music and want to go out in an environment that's a little classier. Well, classier. Well, I don't know if it's classier, but it's certainly going to be more pleasant than suffering some drunken yabo standing up in front of you who would rather enjoy a mountain goat struggle for dominance. I refer to an experience of my own at a Stephen Earle concert at the Park West in Chicago. I left before any mountain goat struggles. After all, who wants to have been thrown out of the same venue twice? And that's a long story I won't go into here. Also in Chicago, the City Winery is opened. I looked at the website. They're about to host who else but Stephen Earle for a week. So you get to go there and tour the custom winery, see how the wine is made. There's even a program for participating in making a barrel for your own use. And you get to sit down and listen to the gritty realism, the tuneful root music, and bitter denunciations of capitalism of Mr. Stephen Earle. The venue is, I can tell you, because I know exactly where it is, convenient from the suburbs, ample parking, near downtown, near a bunch of very nice restaurants. So this aging but far from dead demographic gets to enjoy an echo of their youth, an echo of their period of maximum hipness, or maybe just nostalgia, or the feeling of righteousness that comes from applauding the bitter denunciation of capitalism, or simply good wine, good food, and good music. What's not to like? From an investor perspective, an investor in an entrepreneur perspective, the happiness provided, the need met, the passion of the entrepreneur evident. And did Michael Dorff learn from his prior failure? It seems clear that he did. Well, that's one happy story. Let's move on to another story that has a happy element in it, at least for investors. Genomic health plans. Line of liquid biopsies is a headline in the Wall Street Journal, January 12, 2015. And it has to do with a company that's created liquid biopsies. Now, we all know biopsies to be an intrusive method of taking tissue out of somebody. The word often comes up in the context of cancer. There are symptoms, and you take a biopsy. Of course, that's intrusive. It's only one piece of evidence. You have to do it again, a few years later if you still suspect a possibility. What Genomic Health Plans, it's the name of the company, has developed is a blood test that detects genetic evidence of cancer. This company has a regular biopsy line called Oncotype DX. Helps guide treatment decisions for patients with breast, colon, and prostate cancers. But by contrast to that test, a blood test could be repeated over time to enable doctors to determine whether a patient is free of disease or monitor the effect of treatment. See, cancer researchers have known for a long time that fragments of genetic material from tumors find their way into the bloodstream, but they've lacked the technology to detect reliably the DNA or to analyze the material for cancer-associated mutations or other clues. The Oncotype DX biopsy that's done today lists for $4,500. The blood tests would obviously be cheaper. So there you are. Not mentioned is the possibility of detecting cancers that are notoriously difficult to detect until it's virtually too late, such as cervical cancer. And the idea that this blood test would be able to do this truly takes the breath away. So we've talked about entrepreneurs successfully creating pleasure for people, and we've just referred to an entrepreneur finding ways to save lives, limit the carnage of cancer. Now let's turn to home repair brokering, meeting a perhaps less urgent need than we've talked about. And I should mention here that a very recent guest on this program was Jeff Lampe, who explained how entrepreneurs get to the venture capital stage, how investors in early stage companies should regard the entrepreneur's efforts and the meaningful steps the entrepreneur might be taking to get to the venture capital stage and what to watch for from a venture capital deal, and so on. As regards Porch.com, it's a website. And it basically, as I said, is a broker to help people who lack the time or the ability to fix their own homes or to remodel their own homes. It gives them a means to get people in there who can. So you can browse pictures on Porch.com for design ideas and connect with the landscapers, architects, and others who completed the projects. And I'm paraphrasing from an article entitled Home Repair Startup Gets Funding, by Lizette Chapman in the January 21, 2015 Wall Street Journal. The service even pulls building permits and other public records for homes and then lists projects and repairs completed on each residence, so you can check out a home before you buy it as to what work has been done on it before, learn about the home you're already in. You can also learn about projects in the area, get pricing and reviews of the services provided, and then connect with the professionals there who you've learned about and approve of to get work done. The service is free to homeowners, so you, who like me do not know how to fix your own house, can get in touch for free with those who do. And it's paid for, all of this is paid for by the service professionals who list themselves for a fee and so forth. I should mention that Porch.com is 2 years old, and it now has a valuation of $500 million. It's fixing to close a Series B venture capital infusion and will be, as a result, able to hire more employees and expand their operations. And as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Lampe in the prior broadcast, if you missed it, I can shed a lot of light on how venture capital works and what impacts it has on the entrepreneur and on other investors in a company. I should mention at last that AIMkts.com, the host for this program, also has an article on its website entitled "Most VC-Backed Businesses Fail," end quote. Well, that might provide some realism to dampen enthusiasm over great successes like the ones we've touted so far. But, as Mr. Dumas pointed out, even from failure comes learning and greater success perhaps in the future. Well, let's get to the coins. Today we have with us Ilya Zlobin. Mr. Zlobin is an expert, an enthusiast, and dealer in ancient Greek and Roman coins. He has 10 years of experience and has worked with over 42,000 ancient coins, dealing with or on behalf of collectors and investors worldwide. Ilya has written and I'm quoting the title here, Guide to Collecting and Investing in Numismatic Ancient Greek and Roman Coins. And that's the end of the title. And this book is available on Amazon Kindle, and it's also available free of charge at his website, www.trustedcoins.com. So Ilya, what got you interested in coins? What would get anyone interested in coins?
Well, ancient Roman history is what kind of interested me, because there are plenty of films out there. For example, one of the films I saw was Gladiator, and I saw how powerful Rome was. Also, it's part of our culture. At least in the curriculum, many people growing up, they may remember Latin class. That's where I learned a lot about Roman history. And later when I saw the great opportunity of actually owning these ancient coins and possibly even selling them, and the potential in that field, I got very interested, and I jumped right on board.
So you've cited the high-flowing motives of love and curiosity about history. What about the clinking, clanking sound? Were Liza Minnelli and Joel Grey correct that that clinking, clanking sound that makes the world go round?
Well, they kind of, summarize just the clanking sound of it, but if we understand the dynamics of money, it's that it's one half of every transaction. Think about it, you go out to get a bite to eat, you are using money. So we're talking about, going back thousands of years that the same situation has happened. So yes, you could say that perhaps that money does make the world go around if you would like to simplify it to that.
But the another key aspect of that perhaps is that we have it absolutely in common with the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans, that we use this medium of exchange. It's sort of a commonality among us as human beings, which is interesting in and of itself. But we're here to talk about investment. So please distinguish between numismatic investment in ancient coins and bullion investment.
Well, bullion investment is where you invest in just the intrinsic or just the melt value of, let's say, gold or silver content contained in a coin or a bar or things like that. But with numismatic coins, you're actually investing in historical items, and it's not based on just the intrinsic value. It's also based on the historical, the beauty, the art, and the desirability of the coin involved.
So when we talk about ancient coins, are there some that are just so degraded in appearance and so common among ancient coins that you're better off melting them down?
I would say not, because you're not going to get much melt value out of those anyway, and they still contain some sort of historical value. Think about a coin 1,500 years old, 2,000 years old. Even at its worst condition, it's still an ancient coin. So it's still worth something beyond the melt value.
So, Ilya, what period of time are we talking about when we talk about ancient Greek coins, and what period of time for ancient Roman coins? Do you include Byzantine coins, for example?
Well, the time period of the ancient Greek coinage, coins or coinage got invented in ancient Lydia around 650 BC. So that would probably be the approximate start of the ancient Greek coinage. And you could say that it goes to about 200 AD. And going on to the Roman coins, we are talking about ancient coins approximately 300 BC to about 450, 470 AD.
A side question. You deal in ancient Greek and ancient Roman coins. Is there an active market in the United States for any other sorts of ancient coins from other civilizations?
Other civilizations minted ancient coins also. So, yes, that is also an area of interest, and it's an area worth studying. For an example would be of the coins of the ancient Celts. The Nubia region would actually issue coins that were similar to the ancient Greeks and Romans and had a Celticized versions of those types of coins. Or there were these tiny kingdoms that, went from the BC era to the AD era that also issued coins. So that is also an interesting area of study in itself.
Okay, but just sticking with ancient Greek and ancient Roman coins, does their value fluctuate as much as other hard assets like oil or gold? Does the price of ancient coins, does it go up and down?
Well, usually when you buy coins, you're buying it on an individual basis. So, for example, the venue of the auction, the condition of the coin, and the desirability. Let's say somebody really wants a specific coin, and two people want a specific coin at a specific auction. The price may go up higher than what similar coins touched in the previous, years. So yes, it can fluctuate based also. I would actually call it more like the fluctuations in fine art, because each one is individually struck, and when you look at thousands of ancient coins, there's minor variations in each one of them, and there's the artistic beauty, the aesthetics, the rarity, and just so many different factors that could involve in a fluctuation of what looks to be a similar coin.
All right. Well, then, well, you've answered this somewhat already, but how about running over quickly some factors that make an ancient coin more valuable or less valuable?
Well, you have to understand that ancient coins were struck by hand. So what they would do is actually heat up a metal planchet, let's say bronze, gold, or silver, and they would strike it between a diamond and an anvil. So imagine if you're trying to get a hot planchet and you're trying to get it centered between these two reverse and obverse designs, you have a lot of imperfections in it. So you could have a crack in the coin, or you could have the design off center, or it could be a weak struck design. So if you, for example, look at a whole bunch of coins from a similar era, you would find only specific coins that actually capture perfect centering. Let's say the desirability of the design also, as a great artist engraver actually created the die for the striking of the coin. So you have it nicely centered, nicely preserved, and also it could be a rare coin too. So there's the aesthetic beauty, there's the rarity, and there's also a lot of times the demand in regards to a name. Let's say a coin is of Julius Caesar. Coins of Julius Caesar are world-renowned, and people would like them pretty much in any condition. So that's another factor. Is that ruler or city or this coin, what it was minted for, historically significant also. So historical significance and aesthetic beauty and rarity.
Something I really enjoyed about your www.trustedcoins.com website are some reports you have, or maybe they're essays. One was on fruit and vegetation on ancient coins. A person looks at even a coin struck yesterday in the United States and sees similar sorts of things as one might see in an ancient coin. Well, what do these things mean? And I have to think that having an appreciation for the symbolic importance of a fruit or a vegetable or other vegetation on an ancient coin helps with the pleasure and also with deciding whether and how much it's valuable.
Well, if you think about what ancient coins stood for, is that, let's say some rulers were happy for the abundance that their city-state or their province produced. So fruits and vegetation, as in example given, would be a cornucopia, the horn of plenty that's overflowing with fruits and food. So it symbolizes an abundance of food for the people. And, without food, a civilization can't grow. So that's one of the things that actually became promoted on ancient coins. Yes, that could be something that you may desire in regards to the collecting topic that you may be interested in. So if you like that type of thing, of course, you may enjoy fruits and vegetations that are seen on ancient coins.
So ancient coins are found perhaps in the ground these days or under the waters of the sea, but they also might be found in hoards that are kept by a family or in some building somewhere. When these things are found, do they affect the value of coins you already have in your hand sometimes?
Well, if you consider like this, let's say if one coin was considered to be rare for a long time, and then perhaps a major hoard gets found and it gets brought to a major auction house, and it hits auction blocks all over the world, let's say, perhaps another 1,000 examples of the similar type of coin may actually drop down the price, in some cases drastically, but in other cases there would be enough desirability and market demand to keep the prices similar to where they were.
I'll say as a side aspect of this, it's rare that we get to use the word hoard in a non-pejorative sense when talking about money. How does a potential investor certify the genuineness of the coins he or she is going to invest in?
Well, what some investors do with rare ancient coins, even modern coins, is actually they take them to a third-party authentication service, such as NGC, which what they do is actually take the specific coin and encapsulate it and give it a grade. So that actually turns the coin into a commodity.
What is NGT?
NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation.
NGC,
so,
okay.
Yes, some coins at auctions actually do get sold in these encapsulations, and they have a great hologram, and they're certified by third-party experts. Other people also like to deal with coin dealers that are, of a reputation that sell authentic items. So if let's say a coin dealer gives a guarantee on a coin, I still recommend keeping the receipt so that in case in the future, if you do have to bring a coin back to a coin dealer, keep the information where you bought it from and how much you bought it from. So this way it increases the speed in case you did send the coin to a third-party authentication service and they found it less than the scratch.
So dealers do make guarantees?
Some dealers do make guarantees on the coins they sell. Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC specifically, what they do is they put the coin and make a specific, put their opinion on the coin, but they can't guarantee it. So only the originator of the coin, where you bought it from, can make the guarantee if they choose to.
All right, one more question on this line. Obviously, you should take your efforts to, you should make efforts to understand the environment in which you're operating and to understand what you can about the dealer and the dealer's quality. Do you think that there's sometimes a price variance from dealer to dealer? If a person goes to see three dealers regarding the same coin, does one sometimes get three different answers?
It depends on if you're trying to, if the question is in regards to buying the coin, different dealers may have different coins, different examples. As I mentioned before, that in you could say in the sense that all ancient coins are unique in their own ways because of the centering of the strike, the artistic beauty, the aesthetic beauty, perhaps maybe the variation in design. So perhaps some coins may be in a slightly better condition. A coin, for example, in a fantastic, perfect grade, there's only a few of them. So that means such a much bigger price difference. It might be much higher price than a coin in, let's say moderate worn condition would fetch. So that would be a price difference between dealer to dealer. Also, in the case of ancient coins, each dealer, makes the appropriate judgment when they're buying the coin. Some dealers may have bought it cheaper than others at some point in time, so it is possible for them actually to have a lower price and be able to actually sell the coin for a lower price. Obviously, they're not looking to be losing money on the transaction.
All right, so let's say a person decides to invest in, a nice hoard. I like using that word, obviously, of a thousand coins or 500 coins. Where should this person keep them? In a strong box on the model of the Medicis, or in a vault in a bank? Where should one keep one's ancient coins?
Well, I believe to each his own. So whatever they feel most comfortable with. If they like the idea of a vault in a bank, great. Or if in a strong box, great too. But the idea is that you want to keep them safe from fires also. That's, a strong box or a safe, you want it to be able to not melt in case there's a fire or water damage, hurricane, floods, things like that. So that might be something to consider. For example, in New York City, when Hurricane Sandy hit, there was several bank vaults that actually wound up being under the water for a while. So if some people had some coins not in hermetically sealed, may have, had some perhaps water issues with those specific items. So it's really to the best of a person's judgment, the investment. It's always up to what they feel most comfortable, the way they feel it's the safest to keep them.
Okay, so you have 500 coins. Now you've gotten old. Your kids don't care about history. They don't care about coins. After all, they've never even seen coins. They've never seen checks. They've never seen coins. They purchased everything through their phone. So how do you sell your coin collection?
Well, there are several different places to sell ancient coins. An example would be to sell them to dealers. One place to find dealers would be at a coin show. You could look those up online. They're all over the world. So you could bring it to several dealers and try to get the best prices for them. There's also major auction houses whom you could sell the coins to, or you could give it to them on consignment. So let's say the coin collection sells, they charge a commission, per item for selling the item. Not all of them, but it depends on the conditions and terms that you will work with. And then you charge also the buyer a fee for the coin, for the privilege of buying at that specific auction. Also, you can actually go on eBay and sell them yourself. Nowadays, it has gotten quite easy with apps for the smartphones, and the cameras have gotten so advanced where you can easily lift up an item yourself on eBay and perhaps sell it yourself. I recommend, obviously, buy it now price for the best offer feature, and that comes with a base store, which is $16 a month only. So you could sell them yourself, you could sell them to dealers, you could sell them to auction houses.
If you sell your coins on eBay, are there some large, dangerous-looking men in Queens who could provide security for the transaction? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't really want you to comment on that. Anyway, on the more sort of legitimate aspects of investing in rare coins, some of which we've discussed today, I'd like to direct our audience's attention to an article on accreditedinvestormarkets.com, AIMkts.com, entitled "Show Me the Money, a Look at Investing in Rare Coins." The article was written by Alicia Purdy, our managing editor, and involves many quotes and much guidance from our guest today, Ilya Zlobin. And the article was posted January 22, 2014. So, Ilya, we've talked about history, and we've talked about love, and we've talked about investment as motives for purchasing rare coins. let's just go back to love then. To you, what are the coolest coins of the Greek and Roman periods?
Well, some of the coolest coins of the Greek and Roman periods would be some coins that actually capture the imagination and the hearts of the people. Imagine great rulers like Alexander the Great. Facing insurmountable odds, he would charge at the head of his army to go charge at the head of the, opposing, let's say, Persian army. And he was completely fearless. What he actually created was an empire and a legacy that lasted throughout the decades. What happened after he took over a lot of territories is that they actually issued coins with his name posthumously, meaning that even after Alexander the Great's death, the coinage was so popular that it traveled the ancient Greek world. And even Julius Caesar admired Alexander the Great as one of these great, generals and kings, and, for the philosophy of them also. Then moving on to coins of Julius Caesar. Coins of Julius Caesar also capture the hearts and imaginations of people. His works on where he fought the Gauls, or the ancient French descendants, and where he won a decisive victory, even though he was outnumbered. And being fearless, he actually left a really great legacy for us to behold. And it was because of what happened with him and how he passed on the power to his nephew, Augustus, whereas Roman Principate or the Roman Empire actually got started with. So that's rather interesting. And then moving on to a little bit further in history, coins of Constantine the Great. Constantine the Great, if you know, that he's also known as Saint Constantine. So because of him, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. He saw basically a symbol almost like from God, and it basically hoc signo victor eris, by this sign you shall conquer. He put the sign in his shield and wound up actually defeating his opposing enemy, and coming to power that way. So the ancient coins to capture the history, the art, and the intrigue of the time. Of course, there's a couple of rulers in between that are quite infamous. Everybody knows about the whole story of Nero fiddling while Rome burns. He, what happened was there was a great fire in Rome, and afterwards, on the locations where a lot of the houses got burned down, he built a majestic grand palace. And where the Colosseum stands today, he actually built a huge artificial lake where he would actually, stage sea battles. And outside of the Colosseum stood a huge statue of Nero, which later was turned into a statue of Helios, or pretty much the sun god of the time, Sol. And it stood outside the Colosseum for hundreds of years. So there's a lot of these different emperors and, the intrigue that happened between the families.
So there are coins attesting to Nero's profligacy, to Constantine's vision, and to the mano a mano battles of Alexander the Great. Coins specifically of Nero? Well, there are coins, for example, of Nero where he actually is depicted as Apollo playing the lyre. Oh. In regards to Alexander the Great coins, Alexander the Great coins were issued even after his death. And in regards to Constantine the Great, after his death, a lot of people actually used the Cairo symbol on their coins. The Cairo, which is, if you imagine a modern X and a P, which basically is the initials of Jesus Christ. And that was later, put over symbolically on many different coins. And that was the symbol that was placed on the shields of the soldiers. Well, I can tell you that St. John of the Cross School did not fail to impress upon me and my classmates the importance of Constantine. They may not have impressed upon us the importance of Nero or Alexander the Great to the same extent, but it's a way of connecting to all those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ilya, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure of mine too.
Well, thank you everybody for joining with us. Stephanie Strait produced this edition of Accredited Investor Markets Radio. I am Christopher Cahill, the host. let us do this again sometime soon.
Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe through iTunes or Stitcher, or you can download our app from Libsyn. You can also listen right on our website, www.AIMkts.com. Each week, Accredited Investor Markets Radio brings you news and education about investing with a focus on alternative assets. To see a short written summary of this episode, go to www.AIMkts.com. Accredited Investor Markets Radio is a production of Financial Poise Radio Productions, LLC.